Welcome to the NDIS Property Australia podcast. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the NDIS Property Australia podcast. Today we're joined by Amber from Aruma. She is their National Business Development Manager. Amber, do you want to just tell us a little bit about what you do and what Aruma is?
Hi everyone. Yeah, sure. As Eryn has said, I'm the National Business Development Manager specialising in the shared living space at Aruma. A little bit about Aruma. So Aruma was launched itself in 2019 after a rebranding of both House with No Steps and the Tipping Foundation. So the merging of those two organisations together have over 100 years of experience in the disability sector. House with No Steps being founded in 1962 and the Tipping Foundation in 1970. So lots of experience.
Been around for a while.
Yes, yeah, we sure have. And we're now supporting over 5,000 customers with disability across Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria and the ACT.
Amazing. So you statewide in those places or?
Yes, we are. Yeah, so we're metro as well as regional, and we have a fairly far reach in those states that I've just mentioned.
Yeah, amazing. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your actual role that you play with Aruma?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, it specialises in that shared living space. So what that entails is I have a team of 8 customer engagement managers, and their sole focus is to assist customers and families with their eligibility in the home and living space. Alongside NDIA, and then to support those customers and their stakeholders on the onboarding journey. For example, once an inquiry comes into Aruma, the customer engagement managers will be that one point of contact for that inquirer from beginning to end, and that can be anything up to 12 months, 18 months even if we're looking at a new build for somebody, and they will assist them through that process, which is pretty tricky.
Yeah, amazing. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit more on shared living space and the different models of home and living opportunities, customer eligibility, onboarding journey, timeframes, all that you just mentioned?
Sure can, and please pull me up if I start to use acronyms that you're not familiar with. There's lots of acronyms in this business. So my team and I specialising in all things home and living. So at Aruma, we offer SIL supports, which is your 24/7 supported living. We do have various SDA opportunities. So that's your specialist disability accommodation builds, and that's either through Aruma or through external housing providers. And we also offer ILO, which is individualised living options, drop-in sort of daily living supports if you're at home and just need that little bit of support. And also some really flexible shared support models. And that's great for those who have perhaps missed out on eligibility for things like SIL and or SDA, but still need that level of support and can share that support with others. Can look a little bit like the old concierge terminology with that shared support from a staff member. Yeah. When we think about customer eligibility, the process for each of the home and living options is very much the same in terms of NDIS, which is to submit your home and living evidence form and a change of circumstance form with all of your reports and evidence, and that will start you on that journey. However, of course, the criteria determining, which eligibility someone will receive is very different, and it all revolves around then what is reasonable and necessary for that person.
Okay.
To give you an example there, if you're fairly independent and you just require a few hours of, say, prompting type supports each day, you would not be approved for something like an SDA home or for 24/7 SIL support funding. So the key to all of that really we find is very early planning. We know that this process can take up to 12 months, depending on wait lists of therapists and those sorts of things. Having a really great support coordinator who's knowledgeable in that home and living process and a fantastic occupational therapist. There's really so much weight these days placed on the OT recommendations from within their functional capacity assessments. And we're now seeing semi-regularly that customers' funds can actually be approved based solely off the recommendations in that OT report. So it's really, important that that's 100% accurate and also updated whenever there's a change.
Amazing.
Without rabbiting on too long, I suppose that the last part of that is that once the eligibility has been confirmed by NDIA, then really that's still just the beginning of the journey for home and living. So that's the point where participants would want to be connecting with service providers like Aruma to try and find the right fit. So who are you comfortable with? Who's willing to work with you as a customer to find the best outcome? So it shouldn't be about just saying yes to everyone, plugging a vacancy, building your customer base. It's really about that planned out process, trusted relationships, understanding what the person is actually asking for and looking for. And then you concentrating on that customer matching, compatibility, planned transition. So all those things really do take time, but it's important to get it right so that, then you've got your retention as well from there and you've got people
100%.
in the right homes.
Yeah, I guess sort of following on from that, what are the majority of the type of participants that you work with?
So Aruma specialises particularly in intellectual disabilities, global and spectrum disorders, and this probably forms a high percentage of our customer cohort. But saying that, we do support anyone from children right through to older adults who have a diagnosed disability, if we feel that we're the right provider and that we can offer the best supports for that person. Because if not, we're more than happy to refer on to an organisation who may be a better fit for that person.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's great. I found like a lot of people I've spoken to they don't really do kids. Like they more do adults.
Yes, it's certainly harder to find good providers for children, but we have a great children's services arm of our business.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really great. Is it like, so you said you do SDA housing. Is that a big part of what you do, or is it more of like an outsourced collaboration with other housing providers, or?
It's both. So Aruma are registered as a housing provider. We've got a great property team and we do own and operate several SDA dwellings. However, saying that, these days really our preference is to collaborate with experts in this field external to Aruma, so that we can concentrate on providing the supports for the customers and really then allowing our customers true choice and control so that they're not living in a home that is both owned, managed and operated by the same provider.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Obviously, because you said you own some and you work with other people, you obviously a very large organisation.
Yes.
What are some sort of challenges that come with being so large?
This is a question I get asked semi-regularly, actually, and I always stumble with this one because I don't find that there is a lot of challenges. The one thing which is probably relevant to the whole sector really is keeping up with workforce demands. You know, we are large, we have a lot of services and we're very specific with our recruitment process and onboarding and training of our staff. And so it is difficult in pockets to keep up with that demand and have fantastic
Yeah.
staff. So that's a constant challenge across the whole sector. I guess on the flip side, for me, the benefits of being within a large organisation is that we've got a really broad range of shared support. So we've got, for example, a fantastic marketing team, great IT department. We're also a registered RTO, so we've got a great training arm to the business, and so there's lots of opportunity and for staff as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I suppose there's always positives and negatives to every situation.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're in Aruma, you do support coordination and home living supports. What's sort of a percentage breakdown of the two services? Because these are probably most of what you guys do.
In terms of numbers, yes, you're right there. So our shared living services, our support coordination services, and our community supports as well, they would all have the highest numbers of customers within them. Support coordination, we're at about 1,600 customers at the moment nationally, a little less for shared living and community.
Yep.
But the home and living services really are what you'd call our bread and butter. That's where a lot of our focus is. And the way we're set up is in separate service streams, so we keep everything quite separated, and that works really well. So we have our shared living stream of the business. We have our community stream, and that incorporates all of those supports that aren't shared living really. So your social and community participation, your work education programs, all of those sorts of things would fit into that category. And then we have our supported employment stream. So we have 8 businesses at Aruma, and we employ a whole host of supported employees, which is so great.
Yeah, that's a lot of businesses.
Yeah, it is. And we've got our, as you mentioned, our support coordination stream. Then we have our children's service stream, which includes our ECEI, which is our early childhood, early intervention services.
Okay.
And finally, we've got our therapeutic support service stream, so where we have various clinicians such as occupational therapists and speech pathologists and those sorts of therapeutic supports.
Yeah. So you really do it all over there. Like you have a bit of everything.
We do most of everything. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Jack of all trades. Do you want to explain to our listeners a little bit more on support coordination, what it is, how it differs from the SIL service, that like the things that a provider would normally do, and how this is a bit different?
Yeah, I sure can. So, simply put, support coordination, I love. It's a fantastic service. It's a service that supports both participants and their families to unravel the mystery of NDIS and the processes involved there and the plans that the participants receive. So, a support coordinator is there to help you to activate your plan when you receive it, understand what's in it, what you're funded for, and then to get connected and get started with various services. So the big difference there is there's no direct support of customers with support coordination. You're there to facilitate somebody's plan and connect them with support providers, but you don't provide the support yourself.
Okay, yeah. So it's more of a you get the people come in and then you direct them to the right places based on their needs.
That's exactly right. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
It has to be, of course, a neutral array of selections for the customer. So, for example, thinking about the fact that Aruma offers support coordination, but of course we also offer various other services, then it would not be above board for a support coordinator to be steering all of their support coordination customers into Aruma services. That's a big no-no, which is why it's a very separate stream. And so each customer speaks to their coordinator about what they would like. And ideally, their coordinator should be offering them 3 or 4 different choices that they feel are perhaps the right choices for them in the locations they've requested.
Yeah, I mean, it is great that you guys do have that option of you can stay within a room though, but it's great that you also give them options to choose from themselves. Like,
that's right, yeah.
yeah,
And that's the whole point of support coordination, is it's to assist the customer. It's not to choose for them. So the choice
yeah,
always comes back to the customer.
yeah, that's great. What are your sort of long-term goals at Aruma?
Well, look, our brand promise at Aruma is you first. So I guess we really pride ourselves on supporting customers to live their best life, whatever that looks like for them. And
Yeah,
so we're constantly reviewing our services, seeking feedback to ensure that we get there. So that's the pathway that we really want to continue on.
yeah,
Um, we're also working hard on some innovation in terms of specifically looking at some really flexible home and living models or options. And there's some exciting new opportunities coming up there to look out for in the near future. And finally, continuing to be a market leader in this space and speaking up and ensuring that the rights of people with disability are protected. So this is
yeah.
the space, we want to continue in.
Yeah, that's really fantastic that you guys just create like such a customer first sort of space. I think that that's really great.
Thank you. Yeah, that's how it should be.
Yeah, 100%. What sort of contributions or just things people can do to help Aruma? Because there's a donation portal on your website, I think.
Yes.
Um, and we want to contribute as well. But are there any other ways in which our listeners can help contribute to you guys?
Absolutely. It's pretty simple, really. So if I start with answering your question around the donations button on the website, yes, that's
Hmm.
there. Probably a lot of providers will have something similar. And the reason for that is that the way we are funded as an organisation is solely through our customers' NDIS plans. And
Hmm.
the funding in their plans pay for directly their staff support. So the staff who are helping to take care of them or taking out in the community, that's what their plan funds. It does not fund all of the other things that come with a large organisation.
Yeah.
So, there's always room for donations there. In terms of what else the community can do, I think really it's about wherever we can assisting to educate the broader community on what true inclusion really is.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
that's the big thing for me. I think we're getting there as a society. There's still
Yeah.
quite a number of tokenistic things perhaps that go on. So
Yeah.
as much as we can help to spread the word and educate the community about how to include people with disability, how to make sure that that's really true inclusion, that's
Yeah.
certainly would be helpful.
Yeah, 100%. I like totally agree in the fact that I think everyone should be 100% included. Like, it doesn't matter how someone differs. Everyone's human. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Right. That's it. All right. I will definitely put a link in our little podcast description to your website and the donate section, because I think everyone should really take a look at that and if they can donate and help out. But are there any last little notes you want to leave our listeners before we sign off?
Just a thank you, I think, Eryn. Thanks for the opportunity to let me speak briefly today.
We were so happy when you responded to say you would join us.
Oh, no problem. Any opportunity we can get to spread the word, of course, talk about Aruma and our services, but also on that broader sense around people with disability. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for joining us, and thanks everyone for listening.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure that you are subscribed and following us so that you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this episode with those that can benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.